What's up, guys? It's me again, Christian Rodriguez, and today I wanted to talk about 5 books I believe every man, every person must read. And the reason why I talk about these books is because, honestly, personally for me, I wouldn't be here talking to you in this camera if it wasn't for books. Books are the reason why I had the courage to move to a different city that I don't even know anyone, which is Chicago from New York. I wouldn't be building my own AI agency. I wouldn't be learning N8N. I wouldn't be learning new skills. I wouldn't be. I promise you right now, the way my actions that I'm doing right now, I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for books. So I really give credit to books because books are. I feel like a lot of people like use social media and they say podcasts are better. I hear that a lot. I hear that very often. That people say that podcasts are better. I'm gonna be honest with you. Podcasts are not better. They sure it's a form of entertainment, but books they're constantly doing research. They're constantly revising it. They're like doing thorough research. They're putting a lot of brain power into the book to make sure it's completely right and you're getting the proper information from it. So I don't think podcasts could compare to books. Even YouTube videos, like including myself, I'm not freeballing this like I have notes in front of me, but this took me like a few minutes to come up with notes and talk about it. This is not like super difficult to do. Like a book, if I was writing a book, it probably would take me months to do research and write down and articulate it correctly, and then maybe have an editor edit it. It's a lot more complex. So I truly believe books are better than podcasts. But this is not the reason why I'm here. I want to talk about 5 books every man must read. And I guess these are in order, in my opinion. So I'll start with the fifth. So the fifth, for me, my top 5, I would say is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And reason why I really love this book, this is such a fantastic book because it gets you better with dealing with people. First of all, you're going to deal with people. You're going to deal with plumber. If you're a plumber, you still have to talk to people. If you're a construction guy, you got to talk to people. If you're a salesman, you got to talk to people. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to talk to people. If you're a dentist, a pilot, doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, you still have to communicate with people. You have to understand, know how to make yourself likable. And that's basically what this book is. It's a sales book in disguise, but even if you don't do sales, like you would still benefit from the principles in this book. Also, I have it right here. Yeah. Yep. But you would benefit yourself long term from this book. You learn the principles in this book. It will benefit not just your business, but it'll benefit your personal life too. It'll make you a better communicator. It'll make you more likable. And that's what you want. You want to be able to influence people. And it's a classic too. This book has been around since the 1930s for a reason. And many people put it on their list of favorite books to read. I honestly recommend it because it's a timeless book. It's a timeless tactics, timeless principles. I'm telling you right now, give that book a try. One thing I recommend though is I would get the physical book instead of the audiobook. If you want, you could do both. I've read the audiobook and then I've read the physical book. I process the information better with the physical book. So that's one thing I do recommend is to get the actual book itself. But the next book is number 4, and that's How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. And so Felix Dennis was the entrepreneur. He owned Dennis Publishing. Well, now he's dead. He died in like 2015. This book came out in like 2006. But this is such a great book. I read this right before I left to Chicago, and what I read it twice already. But what I love about this book is that he's so authentic with it. He's very real about it. He doesn't bullshit you. He's not telling you that it's all fine and dandy. It's not. Becoming an entrepreneur, becoming successful, becoming rich. He says it. He's very upfront with you. He's like, it's not a cakewalk. First of all, he's honest with you. He tells you, if we're gonna be honest, most of your friends, probably family, aren't gonna want you to get rich. And he tells you that. He's very honest with you, and I love the authenticity behind it. He tells you what you probably have to deal with. He goes into just about every aspect of it. He even talks about outsourcing. He talks about different aspects of business, and yeah, he really talks about. And your boss is, you're never gonna get rich with your job. He gets into that. Obviously, many of you probably know that, but he gets really in depth with it. So I really recommend you read that book. It's valuable piece of content. So, and I would say for the next one, which is number 3. Now, I've read this book twice, and I've listened to the audiobook once. So I've gone through it 3 times. And it's Influence by Robert Cialdini. Now, Robert Cialdini goes by 6-7 principles. He goes by different principles, right? Different influence principles. He talks about them, he gets in depth with them. And the reason why I talk about how this book, I don't want to get too into it, because I want you to read it yourself, but he talks about like different principles. Like he'll talk about how the Chinese during the Korean War had American POWs, and instead of mistreating them like what the North Koreans did to the American POWs, they actually treated them very well. And ironically, they made them write on a sheet of paper. They made them write on paper, like, and they made them make a little commitment. They didn't try to. I'm actually gonna make a separate video on this because I found this insane to talk about. Might do that. Might note it after this, but he literally made them write. They literally made them write on a piece of paper, right? And he'll just write, and of course they're American POWs, so and they're against communism. But what they did is they were like, okay, I understand. Just write one small thing, one good thing about communism, and one bad thing about the U.S., or one thing good about China and one bad thing about the U.S. It was like a small commitment, like not that big of a deal. Something that they'll probably say yes to, because it's so like tiny and insignificant. But the Chinese are smart. They did that. They did that, right? They did that little by little. But then as the American POWs started making little commitments, they started leading up to bigger commitments. And then many American POWs surprisingly were brainwashed by communism. Like they were actually like okay with communism. They were fine with it. And they were even happy that they treated them well. And that Mao was so fair to them, that the Chinese are so fair to them. It's insane. But he talks about that they use one of the principles, which is called the commitment consistency bias. I just thought that was insane, because that even American POWs who were fighting against communism were able to get brainwashed because of these principles. And like little things like writing things down could influence other people, convince other people that you believe it, even if you don't believe it, but you also convince yourself that you believe it because it's in your handwriting. Little things like that. Now, I don't want to get too far into it. I'm going to get into it next time, but I just thought that was a really good one. And he has a bunch of other principles too. It's going to take too long, so I'll do that in a separate video. But yeah, and then the next book is my second. I put it as number 2 because it's super important. I believe this one's really important, and it's The Psychology of Money. You need to know, by Morgan Housel. You need to know money. You need to understand how money works. He talks about it, that it's psychological, that money's usually mostly emotional. It's not logical. We don't spend out of logic. We spend out of emotion. And he really gets in depth about it. It's not a long read. It's a short read. It's an easy read. I would recommend it. It's not the easiest book, but it's easy compared to many other books, especially the ones in this list that I just mentioned. So I really recommend that you give this book a try. I would read it more than once. I've read this book twice already. I plan on reading it again, but it's a very good book. One example that really stuck out to me was when he talked about how the Nazis, when they were fighting against the Russians in the Eastern Front, the Soviets in the Eastern Front, they had the best tanks ever created, and they found out that the tanks were getting destroyed, not by the Soviets, but by field mice. And then he said, he's like, who can expect field mice? And the point of what he just said there was that everything in life is field mice. There's always something that's going to happen. There's always something that's going to break. You might want to save money. You probably were saving money for a few months, and now you finally saved it. You finally saved money to go on a trip or to do something enjoyable, maybe to start that business. And then all of a sudden your car breaks down, or your only mode of transportation to get to work and back, all of a sudden needs a new engine, which costs $3,000. So now you have to pay for that, and now you're back 6 months. Stuff like that. That's why he talks about, like, you need to expect field mice, because life is unpredictable. There's always some stuff that's going to happen. But yeah, obviously he talks about a bunch of other examples about money, but that's just one example of the book that stuck out to me. And then my number one book. This is a very dense book. I'm going to be honest, it's not an easy book to read. First time I read it, it took me like a year to read it because I wasn't that into reading. The second time, it took me a month to read it. And it's 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I truly believe everyone needs to read this book. And this book is usually associated with manipulation. And I could see how people say it as manipulation, but I don't see it like manipulation. I see it as you need to protect yourself. And because it protects you from manipulation. It also puts you in a position where you don't ever lose power, you don't lose respect. If you think about it, right? We're always in a power game. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be you and your friend group. There's a slow little power game going on between your friends, and you don't even realize it. Whether you know it or not, there's a power game, and you're in it. At work, there's a power game. It's not based on who's the best, the most competent employee. It should go that way, but it's not. It's on it's a popularity contest usually. It's usually who's the most likable to the boss, right? Stuff like that. And those are power games. And like little things like that. Like I just truly believe you need to be aware of this book, because just like I mentioned with the psychology of money, it's the same thing with this. People are emotional. People aren't logical. People are emotional first. People use emotions first. People are very insecure. You might inadvertently do something that you're thinking you're impressing the boss. I'll talk about the first law. The first law is never outshine the master. And this one really talks about someone who's superior than you, someone who's superior in some way, and maybe you outdo them in something. Maybe you happen to surpass them in skills or in something. And instead of them congratulating you or being impressed, they get insecure. They're like, oh, this guy's trying to overtake me. And you know what happens? If it's a boss, he might just fire you because you just made him feel insecure. He's not going to say that you made him feel insecure, but it's in the back of his mind, and he'll come up with some reason why he had to get rid of you, even though there was nothing wrong with you. And that's just one small example of it. I'm not even just talking about work. This happens with friends. This happens in relationships. This happens in business. This happens everywhere. Everywhere you think, the gym, anything. And that's the thing. Many people are insecure. We're all insecure to an extent. But what I'm saying is, you could trigger someone's insecurity without even realizing it, which gets you in trouble. So I'm telling you, like, just read this book, even if you're skeptical in it because you think it's an evil book. It's not, because most likely, not most likely, 100%, you are in a power game. Either you're aware that you're in a power game or you're not aware. And if you're not aware, then you're playing checkers while the other person's playing chess, who's aware of the power game. So I would read the book. But yeah, these are the 5 books every man must read. Thank you so much, and take care.